difference of writing patterns, some exercise I given to you. Few more we will see while working with JavaScript. Because in HTML, we can statically write them. In JavaScript, we can dynamically manage them, verifying what pattern they entered, is it valid or not. Such interactions we can do in JavaScript. Already some CSS validations I showed you last session. Can we put our own messages if any pattern is wrong? We can do that by using CSS. Actually, we do that by using JavaScript. But now in latest CSS, you can write the patterns and you can even set validations. So this is all about, you learned about text box. You learned about only one element, that is text box. Because why we spend so much time on text box? Because here we learned all attributes and same attributes will continue for others. And other elements are easy now to handle, right? What are other elements? After understanding text box, we have password. So we have password input. Password input is same. So it allows a string input masked with password character asterisk. It is masked with password character asterisk. Password is also a same string input. Same string input, but the characters are masked with asterisk. That means you cannot see clear characters while typing. It will show the password characters are masked with an asterisk symbol. Behind that symbol, characters will be there. Actually, what is the point here is all attributes are same as text box. Only list cannot be used for passwords. All attributes are same. Whatever you learned for text box are same. That means ID, name, class, size. We have min length, max length, required autofocus, and we discussed about pattern. All are same. Only one option will not work. What is that option? List. Because you never see that passwords list will open and you can select, because passwords cannot be viewed at all. Then there is no list at all. So that is only one thing you cannot use for password. Rest of options are same. So syntactically, that is defined by using this. So it is defined by using input type is equal to password. Some name is some password. It can have like required. It can have like some min length. So it can have max length. So it can have option like pattern. Through pattern, how you will validate /w4, 10. Like this, you can add everything what you saw in text box. So whatever we learned about text box, same. Only one additional thing here is the characters are displayed in plain. The characters are displayed in plain. Let's open this. So the password I'm configuring here. Let's add this page. And in this, now the data type for input is password. So let's add a simple element here. So locating. Yeah. So here we are defining some data list. Data term is having username, and we have input type as what? Text. That is for username. And suppose we are dealing with a password, then data type, input type is what? Password. That is the additional thing we have to define. Now, all features are same. You can use required. You can use pattern. Suppose I defined /w4210. We can add so placeholder. So password, some 4 to 10 characters like this. We can add all the options in. We will make sure that this entire definition is in a form. And here we have a submit. Submit is registered button. So whatever value you type in a password box, usually it is displayed by masking with password characters. So only one attribute you cannot use here. All other attributes are same. What is that attribute you cannot use? List. List. Taking time to load. Let's check. Okay, so you see this is the general text box we have, and this is the password box we are having. So whatever passwords you type, they are masked with that asterisk. Usually we can show them by using this symbol, but this is newly added to browsers. Earlier we don't have that. Earlier we have to do that with JavaScript. Now one advantage is it will show the password while typing. But what it submits also clean, what it takes also clean, what it displays asterisk. So all other features are same. Suppose you are not entering this, click on register, then required will fire up. If you are not entering minimum 4 characters, then pattern will fire up. Last session we saw how to show messages. We can put messages and display our own messages. That's all same. Only the point, instead of clean text, it will display in password characters. That is one difference. So these all elements are simple if you know text box perfectly, right? Next, another input we have. We have an number input. We have a password and we have number. This is also same. Number input is, so it allows to input a numeric value. Numeric value. So all attributes are same as text box, but have range configured with, we have min, we have max, we have value, and we have step. These are the additional things. Rest of others are same. All other attributes are same. Extra we have this. Min, max, value is already there in text box also. Here extra is min, max and step. Placeholder, required, pattern, all are same again. All options are same. But important is, even your pattern is saying allow to add some text. It will not allow to add text. It will add only what? Number. It is used for only numeric. So what is this extra? Min and max is nothing but actually number means, for example, here I defined another data type, another data term age, and I defined here input type. Input type we have a number this time, and the name I'm defining as age. Usually this is going to display some numeric up down like this. You can scroll up and scroll down. Even if you try to type some number, so some alphabet, it will not allow to type any alphabet. You can't type. It allows only number. But you will see one interesting is E is typed. Other characters are not typed. If I don't tell this, you intelligent people tomorrow will come and say that, sir, you said alphabets will not type, but he is typing. That is because, do you know why? Because E represents an exponent character which is numeric. In JavaScript based technologies, front end, E represents exponent. That's the reason E can be typed, but it will not submit. Actually, you can write 2E3. That is 2 into 10 to the power of 3, which will be 2000. That is the actual expression. But it allows to type, but it will not allow to submit. Suppose you see only you cannot submit. Suppose only E I am typing and so fill up the password. Only I am typing and register, it's not allowing. Suppose I entered 2E3, then I click on register, it is submitting. Because that E represents an exponent character, only E is allowed, others not allowed. Any another character you cannot. So because E is a part of a numeric type, which is exponent type, that is allowed, others not allowed. And what is problem here is, you can go negative, you can give any number. If you want to set limit, then you can do like this. So you can simply put the limit like this. What is the limit? You can say min is equal to 15. Max is equal to some 30. Then it will not allow anything above and below. That means now you try here and you scroll down, it will not allow to go less than 15. It will not allow to go more than 30. For text box, we use min length, max length. For number, we use min and max. Here you can see it will not go. Even if you try to type something less, suppose I said some 12 and I try to submit this 12, then it says number should be greater than or equal to 15. It will put that validation. So that is min and max. And see here, minimum 15, the next value is 16, 17, 18. That means how much increment happening? One increment happening. You can decide that. That means you can set step as some 3. That means it will have 3 increment. And you see here, this is 15, after that 18, then 21, 24, like that. 3 increment and decrement. And remember, once you set step, only the step is allowed, others not allowed. That means if I say 21, after that 24, suppose I entered 22 and try to submit this 22, then it will say that, so here we are matching. Yeah. Now here it will say that, so it is 21 or 24 only. Because the step is 3, you cannot add anything in between. So that is the concept of step. Actually, step, min, max, you can use any numeric, means fractions, decimals. For example, you are writing like, so a term, write rate. So interest rate, and you defined data definition. Input type is equal to text. So here not text, it is what? Number. And the name is rate. And the min is some 10.34. And max is some 18.46. And here step, if I don't give, usually the step will be like 13.54 and it will be like a 10.34, 11.34, 1 step value. If you want step value, you can configure step. Step is equal to 0.01. Your wish. You can define any 0.04, 0.05, any step value. Then usually what happens when I am moving this, it will go with the step value. So 0.0 we given, it will go with that step value. So the step value you can control depending on what is the minimum and max. So this is only for numeric. Earlier we don't have all these. In HTML4 version, we used to have only 3 text box. One is text, another in password, another one multi-line text. Others we don't have. These numbers and all not have. These are all new data types they added into HTML5 to make the input more valid, so that user will not developer will not need to use lot of validations. We can simply use these types. They have inbuilt validation. That means you can avoid using of JavaScript validations and you can simply try these validations. That is done by using the type number. So what is the basic syntax for number? You have input type is number, and min is some 15, like max is some 30, and step is some 3, name is some age, like this. You can add all the attributes like required if you want, all others. Another is input type is number. I added like min is some 10.34, max is some 18.45, step is 0.01, and name is rate, like this. So we learned a lot of attributes about text box. Why? Because text box gives a complete clarity on how an input should be. And if you know all attributes of text box, other elements are same. Extra 1, 2 will be added into them. So this is number input. There is another way of accepting number input. In the latest, we have an option called range. Range It is similar to number input, but allows user to select a numeric value using slider. But allows user to select a numeric value using slider. Generally, number will show a numeric up down. That is called numeric up down. And now range will give a numeric slider. So syntactically same, no change. Input type is range. So we have min and max. So we have min is equal to some 1, max is equal to 100. Any value range we can give. Step is some 5. Name is equal to some price, something like this, or say quantity. We can define. Right, that is how you configure the range. Range is same. Sometimes we use number, sometimes we use range. So range allows the user to select a range of values. That means here I will change interest rate. I will change that interest rate here. Let's remove this password and all. Yeah, I will change that interest rate from number to range. I'll say number to range, and range will keep a slider like this. This is the slider used for range. It's also numeric input one. But generally, when user is moving the slider, we have to collect the value and display. 1-2 years back, some browsers can show that, but now recently they are not. That means browser used to show the value while sliding. Even today, old browsers have that facility. But the new browsers, updated browsers, they are not showing the value. Then developer have to write this through JavaScript only. That means through JavaScript, he need to collect the value while sliding and display which value they are choosing. As of now, you can select the value. Suppose age is something and interest rate is some value, and select register. It will submit the value. That means I say 21, yeah, register, and it is going to submit the value. It is going to submit the value, but you cannot see that value while sliding. While sliding, if you want to set the value, then you have to use some JavaScript. So earlier we used to have, but now we have to do with JavaScript only. So earlier also only few browsers were having, like Internet Explorer browser used to have the number displaying. So here, what is important is whenever I open, you see the slider is in the middle. You can make it in the start or end depending on your requirement. So how you can do that? That based on value. If value is 10.34, then automatically it will be from the begin. If the value is suppose some 12.34, then the slider will be from little gap. The value depends what value you have configured, right? This is same like number, only the appearance changes. Number will have numeric up down and range will have a slider, right? Next, another important input, we have email. So it validates email address. It validates email address. So it is just verifying the existence, the availability of @net in a string. Hence, it is not suitable for all types of email requirements. For some people who are trying for validating an email that should have only @net, for that we can try this. But complete email validation is not great with this email, because it will just verify whether @net is there or not. If @net is there, it says valid. Others, it will not verify. Already I showed you this concept while working with no validate. While discussing no validate option in form, already I discussed this. So, but if you are satisfied with the validation it provides, then you can use this type. So what is the type you need to configure here? We need to just define input type email, and name as email. You can have like required, you can have like placeholder. You can even additionally write pattern also. So placeholder is your email address, something like this. All these are configured, but what is specialty is, without writing any pattern, by default it have a email pattern. But that email pattern is not great, because it verifies only @net symbol, which may not be satisfying for everyone. So that is the email valids, email input. So let's see here. Suppose I'm adding. So here I'm adding your email, and here input type is equal to email. We have an email, and name is email, and this email have default validation. For example, I entered some name into this. So, and I try to submit, it will say, please include @net. And I included @net. So, and some name, and it will submit the value. But that is not a valid one, right? So sometimes if you are satisfied with that, you can go. Otherwise, you can simply ignore, you can write your own validation, right? Initially, we have a ready-made email validation that is done by using email. Next, important, another input, we have URL. These are all simple, fast concepts, because you learn text box 2 days, 3 days. Why? Because this is why you learned. Because once you know it, others are simple concepts, because all types are changing, but attributes will be same, functionality will be changing, right? URL is nothing but here it validates URL format for input value, and URL must have a protocol and domain extension. It is mandatory. That means without protocol, you write URL www some, so amazon.in, something like this. If you write like this, this is invalid, because that is not a valid URL. Valid URL means, as per the rules of URL, a URL should contain http:// some amazon.in, like this. This is valid. It should have a protocol, https, the protocol : // This is compulsory. If you miss that, it will not work. It is not just www.somename.com. It should have protocol compulsory. So that means whenever you want to take some website address from user, then for that, if you have to write validation for website address, it will take time. Validation for website address is very risky. Just you can use what? URL. So what is the input type here we use? So your website something, and here we will change the input type as URL. And you can see here URL, and observe I'm trying to type some www.amazon.in, and I say register. It's not valid because it must have a protocol, http:// then it is valid. You can submit. Anything else you try to submit, it's not allowed. It will ask you a valid URL. That is what you have to do by using URL, right? That's a simple input here. Syntactically, input type is equal to URL. And this is having an ID, name as URL. And you are having some submit required. All these things you can define. Placeholder, provide a valid address, something like this. So all are same, like placeholder, like autofocus, like required. You can even give min length, max length, but they are not reasonable. So while writing a control, you should use a little bit your common sense also. Why? Because for website address, you can't say 4 length, 5 length, right? So you can use them, but it's not necessary for them. And that is not great, right? So simply keeping the validation for all types of input is not correct. So we have to think about what is the input we are expecting, what can be the input, and how much range they can add. Based on that, we use whether min length or max length. So this is URL. Next, important, we have another input, that is color. So it displays a color picker. So that allows user to pick a color. So it displays a color picker that allows user to pick a color. And here one point is, so you can configure default color by using only hexa, 6-character hexa code. What is a 6-character hexa code? You know. Generally, colors can be defined with color name, color shade name, but this will not accept it. It will accept only a 6-character hexa code. You cannot use color names and all. So usually it is allowing the user to choose any color. Suppose you are displaying some image. Suppose here we are defining an image. Image source is in where it is in images. In images, some image we are having some Realme. Yeah. So width is some 200 and height is some 300. And here, so we are giving a simple input type as color and name as color. And this is going to display a color picker like this. You can have a color picker. You can choose a color here. This is a color picker. User can select a color. Generally with JavaScript, what we do is we identify what is that color code and we apply that to that image. Image or any element will display in the same color. Usually this is a color picker. And by default, when you open the page, it is showing some black. By default, if you want some color, usually color can have value. Color can have value. I given red and you can see it is unable to display that red because colors in color picker can be hexacode. I am giving hexacode hash FFFF00, that is red, and you see it is not working because it accepts only 6-character hexacode. Only 6-character hexacode, then default is red. You can set a default color whenever it opens. For that, you need only 6-character hexacode. Others are not allowed in that, right? And when you submit this, it is going to get that code and display that 6-character hexacode. So syntactically, input type is color, name is color, and we have option like so value is equal to hash and the color. That's how we define. So these are all new inputs in HTML, which makes our designing more easy. Earlier, we have to work hard for doing that. To design a color picker, lot of third-party plugins and all we have to add. But now it becomes very easy. We can just use input type color. Another important, we have another important, this is date and time. For date and time, we have so many. HTML provides various types for date and time input. Actually, you have date time local, and you have time, you have month, year, and week. These are all input types. So date and time have a lot of things. You can give date, you can use date time local, you can use time, you can use month, year, week. These are the types we are having. So that means input type can be any of these. Input type can be date, time, local, and all. So usually see here, I'm writing another option here. Examples we will design after learning all of them. I'm just giving their syntaxes. After learning all, we will create one registration form design like that. So here we have another option. What is it? Suppose departure. And here user have to select one date. We have input type is equal to date. Input type date, automatically it gives a date picker. You can click and you can select a date. Automatically date picker will come. You can choose any date, it will display. So this is a default date picker that you can have, right? Now important in this, there are so many. You can use date, you can use time, and you can see the time will display like this. This is time. You can choose a time value, AM, PM, or some time value you can choose. If you want both date and time, then you can use date, time, local. I already told you, don't trust on this help because this is not an official help that gives you as hints. This is just a guidance, right? In this, so many are outdated. So many are not in use. They don't work. So don't get used to this help regularly. Because several options that you see here, they are outdated. Because this is not official help of HTML people. This is just a help provided to you by Visual Studio. And Visual Studio is officially developing HTML. So they don't have everything updated immediately. So that's the reason you see, suppose from the suggestion I taken date time. Date time was there earlier, but not now. That means few years back, HTML used to have date time. But now we don't have date time. If you try that, which is given in suggestion, you will not get anything. So you will not get anything. So don't trust on that help that is provided, because there are so many outdated things available there. So we have to use the new one, is date time local. That is the new one. Date time local will give you both date and time. So it will give both date and time to choose. You can choose the date, you can choose the time, everything is same. You can have options like not only date, we have options like week. That means user can select a week. That means entire week number will come. That means in this year 2023, what is the current week running? 31 week running. So that all the dates in that week can be collected. You have options like month. You can use month. That means it will display only to select a month. You can choose only month, because sometimes we want only month to select, only date to select. We can choose. So we have different options available here. Date has so many things. Date, date time local, time, month, year, and week. So the point here is, here some restrictions are there. So generally, you can configure the date picker. You can configure the date picker with restricted date and time range, with restricted date and time range. How you can do that? So by using the attributes, we have attributes min and max. Min, max. You can use the attributes min, max. By using min and max attributes, you can configure. That means actually date, time have no restriction. You can choose any old date. But if you want restriction, then you can do with min and max. And very important, the date and the time format. Format for developer is, the date and time format for developer is, it will be year, so month and day, and hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. That is the date format. Anything else is invalid. That means for developer, the date format is this. What does this means? So when developer is designing date, he have to write date in this format. But for user, you can show in any format. When user watches the date on his screen, you can put in his country format. What is his country according to that? For developers, there is no other way. This is the only format. Even in future, several technologies will follow the same order, right? Year, month, day. You cannot use any other. That means I will show you here. Suppose I want here date, and you see date, This is like name have departure. Okay. And you see currently user can choose a date which is older. User can choose a date which is older, but I want user to choose today or next month up to 15 only. I don't want other dates to select. That means only from today to next month 15 user can choose, or today to December 20, like that. You can set minimum, maximum. How do we set the minimum, maximum? What we have to do? We need to use the attribute. So min is how much? Suppose I'm giving the date. So 07, 31 and 20, 23, and max I'm giving as suppose 15, 0, 8, 8. So 15 and 2023, like this I define. This is month, day, year format now. We are using month, day, year format, right? So that is the date format we are giving here. And see, there is no restriction working. Restriction is not working. I can select all dates also now. That means whatever you defined, it will not work because the format is not this correct. What is correct format? Year, month, day. That means 2023, month is 7 and 31. And what is the max? 2023, month is 8 and 15 is day. Now the restriction will work correctly. You can see other dates user can't choose. We can't select them. User can choose up to August 15 only. Other dates again not selectable. User can choose only these dates. Other dates user cannot choose. That means you click here, other years or other months, they are not selectable. So we have a restriction for date that you can do just by using this format, and by using which attribute? Min and max, right? We can put that here syntactically like this. Input type is date. You can use like, you can define like input type is a month, or you can write like input type is time. You can write like input type is date, time, local. You can write like input type is week. If you want to set restriction, restricted input type is date, and min is equal to 2023, some 07 and 31. Max is equal to 2023, 08 and 15. So name is some departure, something like this. We can set restricted. So that is date. Here you can just put a date picker, and lot of limitations are there. So you cannot select a range of dates using HTML date picker. Actually, what date pickers you see in advanced websites, that is not HTML. That is by using jQuery, React, Angular like technologies. They use high-level component mechanism to create such date pickers. Because HTML date picker is after all just only one value you can select. But generally in high-level websites which are related to major date, time, booking and all, they use different date pickers which are designed with jQuery. Majority of such third-party pickers are designed with jQuery. jQuery, JavaScript, by using them, they design such pickers and keep them. So HTML, if you are having a website and there you want just user to select a specific date, we don't worry about range, because you see some websites, what they do, departure and return. 2 dates user have to select. Then they put 2 calendars. In one calendar, you have to select when you are starting the journey. In another, you have to select when you are returning. Right? But some websites, what they do, in some websites, they give a range to select. That is not possible in HTML. That is done by using third-party date pickers. So actually, there are so many third-party websites which you can use. For example, I showed you once, we have a third party like Telerik. Telerik is a third party. You can see this is modern UI made easy. To develop user interface for modern technologies, your only HTML is not enough. Your CSS also not enough. Your JavaScript also not enough. Your Angular React also not enough. Not enough. Even those technologies take help of some more complex things like Telerik. Telerik, DevExpress, Bootstrap, so many are there. Telerik is very popular. You can see Telerik customers. These are the customers of Telerik. NASA is customer of Telerik. Microsoft is customer of Telerik. Samsung, IBM are customers of Telerik. Samsung, IBM, Microsoft, these are software development companies. They build softwares and they are taking help of these people. Now you can imagine these people's ability. That means why they do that? Because see, IBM, Microsoft, like people, then they can ask their developers like design it. And they have to design. They can design. But they say that, so don't design. Already they are designed. You just bring them and use them. Somebody is already designing them, bring them and use them. Because software development, we want the time consuming process to reduce. Because software development is not talent show, it is business. We don't want to see your talent. We don't want to scale your talent. We don't even consider about your talent and skills. We are just worried about the business. That means by the time we can deliver the product or not, that is only the point will be in the mind of companies. They don't even care about whether you have genius skills, you are very great in the technology. They don't care. That's the reason even you say that I am very good in designing, they will say that no need, take from this website and implement. Right? Why? Because they need to save time. And see here, they will provide lot of designs. I will show you demos. In the demos, you can see here Java demos, JSP, PHP demos, .NET demos. I will show you some jQuery demos. You see, they will show you date pickers. I will show here date picker. Ready-made date picker will be there. This is date picker. And you see, they will provide you a jQuery date picker. You see, the date picker looks like this. And here user can select a range of dates. These kind of calendars, usually you see, this is not HTML calendar. That is not HTML calendar. This is a separate calendar designed where user can select range of dates. And for that, whatever code is required, they give the code to the developers. You see, they give the code. What developer have to do is they have to just implement it, customize according to their requirement. Right? So to design like this, it will take time. So already designs will be there, we will use. Majority of software development, especially front-end development, will take help of such third parties to save time. They may be very costly, but companies will purchase. They are very costly. Actually, you see pricing. So in the pricing, so they say per developer how much they need to pay. That means you see, they say that per developer $99, $999 per developer. That means one developer have to log in and use this library. He need to pay $99 per developer. That even this is very costly. Companies will purchase them because their business is important. That means you cannot sit and spend 10 days to design. You have to immediately design. Then no wasting of time. So you have to just borrow from this. Actually, software development happens with these third parties very regularly. How to use these third parties you will learn while learning JavaScript and jQuery or Angular, React like technologies, right? So initially, HTML calendar is not the calendar that you see in all websites. That is different calendar designed with different technologies. HTML calendar have limit. It will not allow to select the range, right? This is input type as what? Date, right? So this is example for date. You cannot select the range of dates. Next, we have another file. We have a file input. So it is a file picker that allows user to select, to browse and select a file from their device. So it is a file picker that allows user to browse and select a file from their device. Remember, this is not a file uploader. Keep that point in the mind. So it is a file browser. It is a file selector, not file uploader. There is difference, because file uploader is to upload the file. That will not be there at all. We have to design them. File uploaders we have to design with logic code. File selectors they will provide. This is a file selector. This is not a file uploader. That means, for example, you see here. So we will put a simple option like, so data term is your photo. And here we defined input type is equal to file. Input type is equal to file. And you can see that it will display like this. Your photo, that means you choose the file. You can choose any file from your computer. Suppose I am choosing any file from the computer. I selected one file and click open. That file will open here. But its preview will not come. It is not uploaded. You just selected a file. Because HTML can give a selector only. And you can choose the files. Uploading logic. That means what we do, beside that, we will put one button. That button will have a word called upload. When user clicks that upload, we have to read the file from the system. We need to attach to server. That's a lengthy process. That requires a lot of code, right? This is not file uploading. This is only file selecting. Why I am repeatedly telling that it is not uploading, it is selecting. Why? Because immediately some people have doubt like, sir, how to restrict only JPG files, right? Generally, while uploading a file, they ask only JPG files you have to upload. Only PDF files you have to upload. People ask like, how do I restrict? How do I restrict only JPG, only PDF? That is why the point I told you, is it a file uploader? No, it is a file selector. So there is no restriction. You can't restrict the files. Restriction of files can be done in file uploader. File uploader is designed by developer through client side, server side logic. And there we put restriction. This is not uploader. This is only select. In selector, you can put filters, but filters are not permanent. You can change them. Filters means whenever he opens, only JPG files will come. Like that, we can put filter, but he can change them. That is not restriction. That is just only filter. So how you can filter that? Let's see the point here. So it is not a file uploader. It is not a file uploader. You can set filters for file type, but cannot restrict the file type or size. You cannot restrict the file type. You cannot restrict the file size, because generally while uploading they mention the restriction that you should upload only JPG. It should be less than 1 MB, like that. That restriction you can't do, because this is HTML. HTML is only design, not logic. That means here you can put a selector, but you cannot put restrictions for that. Restrictions are defined with JavaScript and server-side technology. Your Java, your .NET, your PHP will teach you how to restrict server-side, how to know the size of the file, how to restrict the size. That all server-side technologies. JSP for Java people, ASP.NET for .NET people, PHP, Python, Django. These are all required. Server side, we have to restrict that. Client side, through JavaScript, we can manage. See the file concept here. That means how do we can set the filter? So filters are defined by using accept attribute. Filters are defined by using accept attribute. So if you define here syntax no filters, it will be like this. Input type is equal to file. Name is equal to photo, something. Syntax, if you want to set filter, JPG filters. How you can set JPG filter? Input type is equal to file. So, and name is equal to photo. You can set like this, accept.jpg. You can put like this. So you can set multiple filters. So you can set multiple filters. Input type is file. So name is photo. And you say accept is equal to .jpg, .png, .gif, like this. You can add multiple filters separated with comma. But remember, this is just filter. This is not restriction. That means whenever you open, by default, it will show those files. If you want to change, you can change. Dynamically, you can change. So it is not restriction. It is only filter. So we cannot restrict the files. So let's see how these work, how we configure the restriction here. Usually, currently there is no restriction here. I will show in this device now. Let's open and see, choose file. You can see currently it is showing all files. It is showing all files. So In my computer, I have JPG, PNG, all files will come. And I have PDF, all files will come. Like this, all files will come. Usually what happens now, I don't want PDF files or any other type of files. Then what you do, so you can set the restriction here as what? Accept. Accept what type? Accept is what? .jpg. We can set .jpg. And you click on choose file. When you select choose file, you can see I opened some PDF. You see here it is default JPG. Default JPG will come. I open my PDF folder. There are no files shown. Because actually in that folder, there are all PDF files and it will not show them. So, yep. So here we can change the type. Already I set filter as JPG. But when I click here and select all files again, all will come. So this is not restriction. This is not only filter. That is not restriction, only filter. Filter can be changed anytime. So one thing you need to remember, this is not a file uploading control. This is a file selector. So you cannot restrict the files. You cannot restrict the size. There is nothing. Everything you have to do is by using code. You have to write logic for that, which you will learn in JavaScript. How do we write? Usually this is the type. Multiple types you can add by using comma. You say dot what png. Then you can see it is going to show here a filter called custom files because you are having multiple now. And JPG, PNG type files you can upload. But here you can select only one file. You can select only one file. Suppose I selected some file and say OK. You can select that file. That one file comes here. If you try to select multiple files, it is not allowing to select more than one file. Suppose I am using control or shift. It's not working. Only one file can be selected. If you want to allow to select more than one file, you can try another option. So file selector allows to choose only one file. If you want multiple files, then you can define multiple attribute. You can define multiple attribute. So there is a multiple attribute. So syntactically, input type is equal to file and name is equal to some photos and accept is some .jpg, and you can just put multiple as attribute. If you use multiple as attribute, it allows to select more than one file. So that is how you manage the files. The file selector, how it works. So I will change the type here now. We will set accept and we will keep multiple. When we add this multiple attribute to that, then automatically it will say choose files now. Actually, it was previously choose file. Now it is choose files. And here you can choose directly checkboxes. You see the checkboxes allows to select more than one. Or you can use even shift key to select, control key to select. And you choose open, then it says there are 4 files. And when I click on register, then it should submit all the files. Files means file names. For that you need a name now, because we learned that without name anything is not submitted. Suppose some photos. Now I am choosing the files. Suppose I am selecting 2 files and okay, open. Those 2 files are there and click on register. You can see it submit those names, the file names. But this is not uploading. This is just selecting and submitting. Uploading is the logic that we generally write for handling. So another note is uploading of files can be defined using client and server side logic. Client and server side logic. So where you can restrict the file type and size. Where you can restrict the file type and size. Uploading of files can be defined using client and server side logic. So where you can restrict the file type and size also. So when you select a file, the file should show its preview. When you choose the files, it should display. All that is logic. So this is just only the element for selecting files. So there are so many inputs types we are having. Password input, number input, range input, date input, color, another one, email, URL, and file. So several new inputs are available here. Another major is now in the input you have radio buttons. In the input we have radio buttons. Actually, what people understand about radios and what exactly it is little different. Generally, majority of people have a wrong idea on radio buttons because they technically don't know about it. So generally, what radio buttons are used for, what people know generally about them is little different. The technical concept about radio buttons I will tell you. For example, see how the radio buttons look like. Suppose I am creating a data term. Suppose select gender. And here we defined input type as radio and this is some mail. And we have input type radio and this is female like this. And you see now here there are 2 options. Actually these 2 circles are radios. Now by seeing this, what majority people think about radio and what it is not, I will explain here. By seeing this, usually people think that radios are used for selecting any one option. Am I right? Radios are used to select any one option. Usually that is the definition everywhere you will find. But you see here, I am selecting male, it is selected. I am selecting female, it is also selected. So whatever you think till now or whatever you see till now about radio is wrong. That means what you think about it is wrong. Its architectural behavior is different. If anybody says that radio is used to select any one option, that is wrong. Because currently you can see radios can select more than one also. So then what is the correct behavior of radio? How actually we have to use radios, right? See, technically radio's purpose is, radio purpose is C. Radio button allows user to select one or multiple options from a group of choices. So radio button allows user to select one or more than one. You can select one, you can select more than one also. But generally majority of definitions that you see on internet or anywhere, you will see that people saying it is used to select one, which we proved wrong just now. We practically proved that wrong. I showed you that radios can select more than one. Then what is the correct behavior of radio? What is correctly radio is actually? So generally, radios are used for selecting one or multiple, but problem is radio button once checked, it cannot be unchecked. That is the problem with radio. Radio button once checked, it cannot be unchecked. Once you select, you cannot deselect. That is the problem with radio. That is the behavior of radio actually. So for example, if radio is used to select one, you see several websites, they will give terms of service, am I right? And they will ask you to accept the terms of service. They will give I accept, am I right? They will give a checkbox here, am I right? Why they don't give a radio? Because radio is good for selecting one. And here how many I have to select? One. Then why they don't give a radio here? If radio is for selecting one, and the radio will best fit here, because here user have to select only one. Because majority, every definition that you see about radio checkboxes, you will find the answer. Radio is for one, checkbox is for many, which is completely wrong technically. Technically, it is not correct. So because radio also can select more than one. So and checkboxes also can be used for one. There is behaviors we have. The point is why they given checkbox here, not a radio? Because see here, if they give a radio, what will happen is, see, I am giving another term here, terms of service, some roughly I am typing here. And here I have input type is equal to radio, and I will give I accept. Like this I given. Roughly I am just giving. And here user selects this I accept. If he wants to deselect, how? Again I click on it. It's not deselecting. It cannot. Once you selected, you cannot deselect. Any radio is same. You selected this radio, you cannot deselect. You selected another radio, you cannot deselect. So once radios are selected, you cannot deselect. Then how to use them? What is the concept? Generally, how to use them, what is the concept for radio is, radios are good using a mechanism. Radios are good using a mechanism called called mutex. So, which is mutual exclusion. Mutex. Anywhere you heard about this word? If you learned Java, .NET, multi-threading, you will hear. In Java, .NET, like technologies, there is a concept called multi-threading. You know multi-threading? You heard about that? In that, you will hear about this, mutex. Multi-threading. It is a multi-threading concept. Mutex means mutual exclusion. Radios are good using mutex mechanism. They cannot work deselected, mutex mechanism. That means, see, I will tell you what is the issue about radio. See, usually we have a process here. Suppose we are having a process. That means generally we have one process. Process is here. And we have two tasks. Task 1 and task 2. We have two tasks, task 1 and task 2. Generally what happens is one task is sent into memory. It will be sent into the process. When the task goes into process, it will stuck in the process. It cannot come out. That means a task goes into process, it's stuck in the process, it cannot come out. Then to send it out, you have to restart the process. If you restart this process, then it is sent out. Otherwise, once it is in process, struck. You see, radios are same. I will refresh, they will be deselected. That means I am restarting the process. Once I selected, they are in the process. Once they are in the process, they can't come out. And you see, I try to deselect, they are not working. Then how we can send them out? How to send them out? A simple technique. Actually, now you send second task. Second task is also stuck in process. Now both are in process now. All radios, same behavior. They go into process and struck. They can't come out. That means they cannot come out of the process. Right? That means the point here is all radios are like Abhimanyu. You know, they go in, they can't come out. Finish. They have to restart. Once they go into the process, they can't come out of the process. That is the problem with this. Then what we do here is we tie these two tasks to one thread. We will tie these two tasks to one thread. Once you tie these two tasks to one thread, what will happen is one task will go into process. And remember, this process will allow only one task from one thread. That means now these two tasks belong to one thread. Then what happens is now first task is in the process. It's stuck in the process. Now what you do is you send the second task into process. When you send the second task in the process from same thread, then process will send this task out. This mechanism is called as mutex, mutual exclusion. You send task 1 again, then process will send task 2 out. That means out of these two, only one. That means, is it the default behavior of radio? No, that is not the default behavior of radio. That is the behavior given by developer to radio. And that behavior is called mutex. And how do we make it mutex? Simple. These two radios, what we do now is these two radios will have a name, gender, and this is also have a same name called gender. If both have same name, that means both are tied to same thread. If both are tied to same thread, now see what will happen. Out of this, I selected male, it's selected. I selected female, then male is deselected. That means out of these two, only one will be working. This mechanism is called as mutex. If you want to deselect both, you have to deselect both, then you have to restart process, then it will be gone. That means for which purpose we can use these radios? What is the purpose of using radios? What is the correct situation? Situation is nothing but without selecting an option, they can't go. Selecting one option is compulsory. They can't submit without selection. In that case, what we do is we give radios, but one radio by default we keep checked. Checked means it is selected. That means what happens? The one radio is selected. I can switch the selection, but when I refresh, by default male is selected. Is there a chance to skip this? No. That is the reason of radio. That is the purpose of radio. You want to give some options where he must select one option. Without selecting, if he submits, by default, we will select one. That means we will not give a chance to ignore. We will not give a chance to skip. Even he tries to skip, it will not skip. It will take default one. For that reason, we have to use radio. Radio can be used for selecting more than one also. You see, if radio have gender 1, gender 2, two different names, now they are not exhibiting mutex. To exhibit mutex, both should have same name. Then they can exhibit the mutex. Out of these two, one will be selected. So that is very, very important about radios. That means radios can use mutex by implementing same name. You can say same reference name. So process will allow only one from radios that have similar name, that have same name. Process will allow only one from radios that have same name. That is what actually the mechanism called mutex mechanism. So syntactically, input type is radio and name is gender. We have male. Input type is radio and name is gender. We have female. And remember, radios need some text outside the radio. If you don't define any text outside, then radio is an empty circle. It will give an empty circle. The name for radio is not inside radio. It is given outside radio. That means name means visual name. What is the visual name for radio? Actually, we don't use directly word. There is another element we use. Later I will tell you. We use a element called label. By using label, we give labels for any element. Later I will show that. So radios must have same name. That's important. So that is important. Now you have some more points about radio and checkbox that we will see in tomorrow's session. Right? In tomorrow's session, we can finish all the forms concept. Once we finish all the forms concept, we will take one real-time website registration or login form, and we will try to create that exactly with the concept we learned. Then you will get perfection on forms. That we'll see in next session. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay.